Jarrell Miller knocks out Bogdan Dinu in the 4th round. Miller's team had originally hoped for this fight to be for the vacant WBA World Heavyweight title, the regular version. But even though Manuel Char, who's the current holder, even though he's been suspended or banned for 6 months, so far he hasn't been stripped of that title, curiously. So this fight between Miller and Dinu went ahead as a non-title bout. Now, as far as how the fight went down, Miller actually lost the first 2 rounds. And Dinu, as unknown and unheralded as he is, was actually boxing quite well. He was moving around the ring. He was using his jab. He landed some nice right hands on Miller in, both of the first 2 rounds. And he was actually looking all right in there. But at the end of the 2nd round in the corner, Miller's team got on his case and told him, look, you need to turn up the temperature. You need to start applying some proper pressure on this guy. You can't just let him move around and box and pick you off like that. And Miller came out in the 3rd and boxed 2 instructions. He turned up the temperature and he very quickly turned the expression on Dinu's face from quiet confidence to panic. Because Dinu realized in that 3rd round that he would not be able to keep this man off and that he wouldn't be able to see out 12 rounds of this. I think he probably hit Miller with his best shot in the first 2 rounds and realized this guy's got a serious chin on him. But at this pace, the way it was going in the first 2, I can do this for 12 rounds. But in the 3rd, he realized, I can't do it. I can't do it at this pace. You better slow it down to how you were fighting in the first 2, because I can't do it at the pace you're fighting at right now. And Miller's pace was relentless. He stayed on Dinu's case. Dinu actually went down. I think it was in the 3rd round. But it wasn't called a knockdown because the shot did land kind of on the belt line or slightly below the belt line. So the ref called it a low blow. Dinu took his time getting up to get some respite. Got to his feet, but you could tell, as I say, that he was panicked. 4th round comes. He's running around the ring. He's holding whenever he can. He realizes his punches are ineffective. Miller was actually blocking a lot of Dinu's shots at this point as well. Whereas Dinu's right hand was landing in the first couple rounds. By the 4th round, it wasn't landing, partly because I think Miller was doing a better job of blocking, but also because Miller's pressure had increased so much that he wasn't giving Dinu enough time to sit down on the right hand and actually place it properly. Dinu felt rushed and therefore his punches were not connecting. So Miller managed to put some shots together. Dinu went down. This time it was called a knockdown. And at that point, you knew the writing was on the wall. He did get up. Miller put more shots together and down Dinu went again. He wasn't seriously hurt, but he understood that he was in there with a better man. A man that he would not be able to keep off him for 12 rounds at that kind of pace, under that kind of pressure. So Dinu decided to sit out the count and live to fight another day. So that was it. Jarrell Miller wins by a 4th round knockout. Now, in terms of the public reaction to the fight, it's mainly negative from what I've seen. A lot of people out there are saying Miller is a bum. He's garbage. He's a joke because he got outboxed for 2 rounds against Dinu. My take on it is this. Miller does have limitations. He does have weaknesses. Am I shocked and horrified that he got outboxed by Dinu for 2 rounds? No, not really. Because Dinu is fairly well schooled. Look, he's not a top tier heavyweight. Miller was supposed to win this fight. It would have been a big shock to most people if Miller had lost. He was supposed to win. Even though Dinu's undefeated, he's not exactly highly touted. He hasn't beaten anybody of note. So Miller was supposed to win. But if you look at Dinu's amateur resume, for example, he had an extensive amateur background. And he did fight at a good level in the amateurs. And even if you'd seen some of his fights prior to the Miller fight, he's fairly well schooled. You know, Dinu is much better, for example, than somebody like Sefer Safiri or even Pianetta at this stage. He's much better than those guys. Yeah, this is a guy who does have a boxing background, who has been boxing many years as an amateur and pro, Dinu. And given the fact that he was technically competent, I'm not saying he's technically good or amazing or anything like that, but Dinu was technically competent. And so he's a big heavyweight, 6'5", mobile, who decided to move on Jarrell Miller early in the fight, pop a jab, land some nice little right hands. That didn't surprise me that Dinu was able to do that. I didn't expect Miller to just be able to get on top of him immediately. You know, that's not what I envisioned in my head. I did expect Dinu to at least put up some resistance. Miller is a very big target, obviously. The man's 300 pounds, 6'4". He moves his head, but look, when you're that size, you're not going to be elusive. It's just not happening. So it really will come down to Jarrell Miller's chin moving forward. With the way he boxes, the style he boxes in, coming forward, he's going to take shots. How will his chin hold up against the likes of an Anthony Joshua or Deontay Wilder? If he's able to walk through their punches the way he was able to walk through Dinu's shots, or Marius Wax punches, or Johan Duopa's shots, if he's able to walk through Wilder and Joshua's punches in similar fashion, then both of those guys have got problems. Both of those guys have got serious problems. Because Jarrell Miller's physical strength and his ring presence is no joke. And even though he's not a one-punch knockout man, he's not a guy who punches his weight. He's definitely not Jarrell Miller. The cumulative effect of his pressure, his size, and the shots that he does land eventually takes his toll on you. And I've said this before, if he's able to take AJ's power, I think AJ would have an even tougher time against Miller than Wilder would, simply because AJ is more stationary than Wilder. Wilder's a bit more mobile, so I think he'd be able to get more respite in there. And I think Wilder's got better stamina than AJ too. So, I don't know. We'll see how Miller's career progresses. They're looking to get him out again fairly soon, I believe. I'm not sure if they're going to get him out on December 22nd. That might have been mentioned by Hearn. And that would obviously be on the white undercard. I'm not sure if Hearn mentioned then or he mentioned a different date. It might have been a different date. But either way, they're looking to get him out again fairly soon, keep him active. And if there's still a chance that Miller is actually going to get the WBA regular strap. They're trying to resolve the situation with the WBA right now. But if not, Miller said he's interested in fighting, you know, some of the British fighters, the Dylan Whites and Dave Allens and Derek Chisoras of the world. He's interested in fighting those guys. I'll do a separate video about that. But for now, I want to hear your reaction to Miller's performance against Dogdan Dinu. Were you impressed at all? Were you disappointed? Did you want Miller to not get hit with any punches and just go in there and blast the guy out in one round? Or were you a little more realistic and thought, you know what, the guy's 300 pounds or 315. He's in there with a guy who isn't a top-level heavyweight, but he's fairly well schooled. He has a certain amount of athleticism, so he's going to be able to move around and land a few shots. I mean, it just wasn't surprising to me that Dinu was able to have some success for a couple of rounds. It wasn't surprising. He's not a complete novice or anything. You know, Dinu's been around in boxing and he knows his way around a boxing ring. So it was what it was. Let me know how you feel anyway, people. It's happening, I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.